Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Luke Owen and this is Wrestling News. After all the hype and build-up, the pyro and indeed the ballyhoo, the dust is starting to settle on the Tuesday Night War, where WWE's NXT went head-to-head with AEW Dynamite in direct head-to-head competition. The last time this happened, where AEW had to be moved to Tuesday nights due to sports ball and such, NXT added several main roster members like the Good Brothers Rhea Ripley and Shinsuke Nakamura, but still came up short against AEW, which got 752,000 viewers against NXT's 676,000 viewers. The difference this time around is that in 2022, AEW was a much hotter product while NXT was ice cold. The roles have now reversed, with NXT benefiting from the main roster integration of Judgment Day and Becky Lynch, as well as coming off a hot No Mercy pay-per-view and reaping the rewards of WWE in general being the hottest wrestling ticket in town. Reports are that the line for entry to last night's NXT was the longest it's ever been, with some regular NXT audience members unable to get into the building. The line was so long that some reports claim that people had camped out 24 hours ahead of time to make sure they could get entry into the show. AEW, on the other hand, even with the in-ring debut of Adam Copeland, was reportedly struggling locally to sell tickets, eventually just getting in under 4,000 with several sections taped up. While those numbers are low, especially when you compare them to Raw, SmackDown, and their house shows, WrestleTalk highlight that this is around what AEW historically have done in the area. And even though WWE is a much hotter product than AEW right now, they stacked the show as much as they possibly could. As we've discussed on the WrestleTalk News over the last week, this isn't just because of the AEW competition on the other channel, but also because WWE are in TV rights negotiation season and want to show to potential suitors that their show can draw in big numbers, even if those numbers are slightly artificially inflated, because you had, in no order, Judgment Day, Cody Rhodes, Asuka, Paul Heyman, John Cena, Shotzi, Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, and The Undertaker all making cameos. Bodyslam.net are reporting that WWE had named the show internally as NXT Mania because of how loaded it was. They also report that the backstage environment at the show was hectic, with multiple segments being moved around before and during the show to counter-program AEW. But it wasn't just because of the competition, and it wasn't just because of TV rights negotiations, as House of Wrestling also reported that last night's NXT was designed to send a message to AEW, with one source telling them that this NXT was a very clear example of how and why WWE is WWE and why AEW has a long way to go. Apparently, there are still lingering tensions and hurt feelings after losing the Wednesday Night War, and a general sense of annoyance of AEW having success in certain demographics. Apparently, there is still grievances within WWE that AEW didn't need to run Wednesday nights and could have put Dynamite on Thursdays as to not go head-to-head with NXT. House of Wrestling sources added that Triple H and Shawn Michaels take pride in being the best and wanted to beat AEW, not just for all of the previously mentioned reasons, but also because Tuesday was Tony Khan's birthday and NXT was there to spoil the party. But when it was all said and done, who came out on top? Obviously, it was NXT, obviously. NXT drew an impressive 921,000 viewers, up 7.5% from the previous week, which is the largest total audience for that show since September 2019. For history fans in the building, that was the second week NXT was on USA Network and before they were actually going head-to-head with Dynamite, a huge win and a huge milestone for the brand. AEW actually didn't fare too badly when all things were said and done, with 609,000 viewers. It is the lowest total viewership for that show, but it was also a show that was moved from its usual night. The last time it did these sorts of numbers was when it moved to a Saturday, and was going against a heavily promoted NXT, which internally was being called NXT Mania. According to Dave Meltzer, both WWE and AEW were happy with the ratings. And we'll get more into the ratings breakdown very shortly, but now we must cut over to our latest example of Brian Children's commentary on the world of pro wrestling, this time looking at Body Zoy Wrestling from Belgium, which features a 6-way match between, and I'll apologize for getting some of these names wrong, I am sorry, I'm an idiot, a 6-way match between Antoine Bernard, Georges Balzac, Gustave Lebrun, Jacob Crane, Olav Goldschmidt, and Jack Sans-Nom, who is dressed like Raven and brings a shopping cart full of plunder to the ring, so he's my new favorite wrestler. I genuinely am now following on Instagram, please follow me back. Here's a clip.
And look at this here. He's always on scene. Fireman Sam, he's come out here with his fire extinguisher. A big fan of Fireman Sam, of course. This is a tribute to him. Oh, but wait! We've got 2 fans of Fireman Sam, one of the greatest firemen to have ever lived in an imaginary world. But what's this? He's got something in his pants. Oh, it's a big punch with some brass knuckles. Oh, but he's not on fire. What are you doing? He's got it all wrong. He wasn't on fire at all. And now he's covered himself all in the white stuff. Oh dear, up he goes. It's gonna be, oh my goodness, on his head, on his lovely little head. Will he, oh, he's been put out, but he's also not on fire. Absolute scenes here as people are clearly being mired with invisible fire.
If you run a wrestling promotion and want to have Brian Children provide commentary on the WrestleTalk news, get in touch to support@WrestleTalk.com. Now, back to the ratings chat. The real loss for AEW is when you break down the ratings and look at the all-important 18 to 49 demographic. NXT beat AEW with a .30 against a .26 share, which is AEW's lowest in that demo since June. WrestleNomics have broken down the quarter hours over on their excellent Patreon page to show that NXT beat AEW in total viewership across the night, with their high point being the overrun with a cameo from The Undertaker. The biggest gap between the two came during Ilya Dragunov's defense of the NXT Championship against Dominic Mysterio, with LA Knight as the special guest referee, which also included a Cody Rhodes backstage segment, which destroyed Hangman Page taking on Jay White. AEW's highest rated quarter was the final few minutes of Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Chris Jericho, with the Adam Cole video package at Roderick Strong's house, and the start of the Orange Cassidy Ray Phoenix International Championship match. That was also the closest AEW came to beating NXT in overall viewership, as that was NXT's lowest rated quarter, which was Gallus versus Tyler Bate Butch and Ridge Holland. And the only win for AEW was in that same quarter in the 18 to 49 demo. Unsurprisingly, both AEW and NXT highest rated segments were their first ones, with NXT having Cody Rhodes' major announcement of the return of the Dusty Classic, while AEW had Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. Tony Khan tweeted out his thanks to all of those who watched the show, noting, "We've come so far from a startup in a parking lot. We all teamed up to put on a great show last night. I hope we always keep our challenger spirit." Which is a bit of a different tone to the one that TK had on Twitter in the lead up to the Tuesday Night War, you know, when he called Shawn Michaels and Triple H bald assholes in one tweet. But that Tony was back on form when a fan accused him of taking unfair shots at WWE, while Vince McMahon has earned the right to shoot shots at AEW. Tony Khan responded to that with, "Yes, Vince has allegedly used his power and influence to shoot a lot of shots." Now, Tony. He also replied to one Twitter user saying that Shawn Michaels won't be winning the coveted Booker of the Year award, and he's right on that one because Triple H will be winning that award. While certain parts of the online discourse is the usual tribalistic nonsense, the general consensus has been a positive one among fans, even when talking about the ratings. We got a terrific night of chaotic wrestling, and as Dave Meltzer pointed out, the combined 18 to 49 demo is higher than the last time the two shows went head to head. That means more people, crucially more younger people, are watching the product right now. And that, my friends, is a good thing. What isn't a good thing is the number of battered bodies in the world of professional wrestling, especially within All Elite Wrestling. Fightful Select are reporting that AEW found out that Jon Moxley wasn't officially cleared on Tuesday afternoon, which is when they made the call to switch out him for Orange Cassidy to go against Ray Phoenix. There was also a report that FTR dropped their tag titles to Ricky Starks and Big Bill on Collision due to an injury to Cash Wheeler, but Dave Meltzer then reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that it wasn't injury related and actually part of a storyline plan to put over Starks and Bill to build to a rematch. Fightful Select confirmed this report, but did add Cash Wheeler is nursing injured ribs, but we've not been told if he'll miss any time. There was also some concern over Saraya after she dropped her AEW Women's Championship to Hikaru Shida on Dynamite, but Fightful Select report that she is not injured. In other AEW news, it's been revealed that 2 names have left All Elite Wrestling. WrestleZone first reported that the reality Zach Clayton has left the company after his contract that he signed in October 2022 had expired. Mike Johnson of PW Insider added that he left on good terms and there is always an open door for him if another opportunity arises. PW Insider also report that VSK, who was wrestling under the name Jeeves K, also didn't get his contract re-signed, and VSK himself confirmed the end of his time with AEW on Twitter. And speaking of talent leaving pro wrestling companies, the recently released Dolph Ziggler announced his first post-WWE appearance as he'll be doing a live comedy show with his brother, AEW's Ryan Nemeth, called Hunkamania, where they will share stories from the road. The first date for this is November 24th in Chicago, the night before Survivor Series, with future dates to be announced. Nemeth stated on Twitter, hopefully a certain loophole allows that, and barring any other controversy, we get to see all of you and have a blast, which sounds a lot like this is contingent on Ziggler's WWE contract and that 90-day non-compete clause. And speaking of Survivor Series, Fightful Select are reporting that WWE are planning on bringing back War Games for the event like they did last year. However, unlike last year, only one match is currently being discussed, which means there wouldn't be a women's War Game match this year. That can change, of course, but Fightful Select report that it was heavily implied to them that the Judgment Day would be in the War Games match. Sean Rossap couldn't confirm who they would be against, but one would expect it'd be the team of Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Jey Uso. But that's all we've got time for on this edition of the WrestleTalk News. Head on over to Parts of Unknown to watch us hang out and play board games. We even had Adam Pearson join us for the fun. I'm just going to go and message my new friend Jack on Instagram. Let's just see if he's followed me back. Refresh. Please follow me, Jack. Refresh. I know he's busy. Refresh.